G'day everyone and welcome to Chris Rankin's Music Crush. A quick one today. I'm going to talk about my favourite album of 2021 so far. I've been talking about this album for a little while and mentioning it quite a few times. I did pre-order it before it came out March 12th and I got it about a week ago, and I've been listening to it so much. I'd listened to it a fair bit. Once I'd pre-ordered it, I listened to a fair bit on the Bandcamp, and yeah, it's at this stage it is my number one album so far. There are many great albums that are going to fight it out for the top 10 spot, and even to get down to my top 100 already, I'm going to have to start doing a lot of culling. Well and truly over 200 album covers saved into that folder of mine, and we're only halfway through May. But this album is my number one so far. It is flawless. I can't pick anything wrong with it. I can't pick anything that in any way is just not 100% magnificent. I love it to bits. Firstly, I might not get a chance in the next few days to talk about the new releases. So some of the new releases that I've loved so far, the brand new one from Dordeduh, I think that's how you pronounce it. What an album. Wow, so good. Millstone, great album with that incredible cover artwork of the tank on the front, so good. Grief Collector, very good. The new Grave Miasma album. Now, I had a pretty good birdie letting me hear how good it was, and outstanding. Absolutely brilliant. The new Myles Kennedy album, of course, the pure class that he is. It's a great album. The Per Wiberg, the new album, so good. Scars of the Sun, great new album. Yeah, so many good albums this week. Maybe not so many as far as just a long list, but I felt like almost everything that was released this week, almost, a few duds that I didn't like so much, but the ones that I'll be including this week as my favourites were absolutely magnificent albums. A really high quality week for sure. I've got a feeling that pretty much most of the ones that I loved this week and I've saved in that folder will probably end up on the end of year list. So a very high strike rate. I still keep spinning that Vortexx album, Odyssey, magnificent. Absolutely magnificent. Ron Haggerty, I'm telling you, you will absolutely adore that album. I think it's so good. That Stone Healer album, I'm still listening to, magnificent. And yeah, and a big shout out to Ron Haggerty. Great channel. What a brilliant dude he is. A top fellow. Great channel. Always putting up videos. Always something good to watch. Whenever I go onto YouTube, one of the first things I look for is what has Ron Haggerty's Vinyl Sanctuary, what has he uploaded, something interesting to look at. So please check out his channel, a top fellow and a really great channel indeed. So look, let's get on with it. I've built it up a little bit. I don't want to make this video too long. I just want it to be basically about this record because it deserves it. This record, I didn't want to put in anything else with a listening video or something like that because I think this album needs to be highlighted. And look, I've got lots of videos on the slate. My work is ridiculously busy at the moment. Just incredible, very long hours. So if I take a little while, guys, to watch your channels and comment on, it's not because I'm ignoring or can't be bothered watching, it's because I'm literally busy. But when I get spare time, I do watch all your channels, and I've got a list of what other than my listening ones, which I do off the cuff, I've got a list of things that I'm actually planning to do. I've got a massive video that I've been planning in the back of my mind, thinking how I was going to do it for a while. That's going to be a big one. And I've got some really good discography ones that I'm going to do as well that I keep promising. Dream Theater will probably be the next one. I'm planning to do that. I was going to do it and then I went, I'm not so happy with the order, so I went back and listened to things a little bit. But anyway, I've built this up and here it is. I've talked about this album before, quite a few times before. I talked about it when it came out. I pre-ordered it, and I got it, about a week ago. First of all, the artwork. Instantly, you're already starting off with decent points out of 100. A big, massive points out of that artwork. And the artwork, not always with albums is it a guide of what you're going to get. That artwork is exactly what you get. It's this whole album and this band in general, and I'm a sucker for this sort of stuff, is all about deep space. Very much about the emptiness and this and perhaps the feeling of sadness and despair that might come with deep space. It's all about black holes and decaying suns and stars that are falling in on themselves and all that sort of stuff. And that's what you get right there. Absolutely brilliant. So a little bit about the band. The name is Stortreagan. I think that's how you pronounce it. The album is called Impermanence. This is their 5th album so far. This came out in March 2021. Just so good. They're from Geneva, Switzerland. And I don't know what you describe them. A mix of death metal, epic metal, and hard to explain that, but very epic. Certainly not traditional heavy metal, but certainly the epicness that you would get with, say, traditional heavy metal and traditional doom metal. It's not doom at all, and it's not really traditional heavy metal, but it's got a very epic nature about it. It's grand. It's really, the guitars are very soaring and epic. You've got twin guitar harmonies all throughout this album. I think that's what really makes this band shine, is that it's a death metal band in essence, but you've got the twin lead guitars. So you've got that all the time. You've got that different sound between the two guitars, and of course you've got the bass as well. So it's a really full sounding band and a full sounding album. The two guitars seem to always be doing something a little bit different, so it's never boring. So I would say best way to describe it is death metal, epic heavy metal in its epicness, technical death metal, progressive metal, and because of Romaine's vocals, he does both the blackened style growl, but he also does the death metal style growl, and he changes it so much so that now there are 2 guest vocalists on the first track, Ghosts of the Past, and on track 3, Cosmos Eater. But even when there's not the ghost vocalist, sometimes it actually sounds like there's 2 different vocalists because he changes his growl so much, which is really clever, which means then it doesn't just sound like an only death metal album, and it doesn't just sound like an only black metal album. So as you can see, it's a fantastic mix of a little bit of everything. It's like, I almost felt like they wrote a letter to me and said, Chris, what are your favourite things that you look for in a metal album? And I pretty much get everything in this. A little bit of black, a little bit of death metal, a little bit of progressive metal, technical death metal, epic heavy metal. And then you wrap it all up with the lyrical content, which is all about deep space and black holes and interstellar travel and all. And 10 out of 10. I have no trouble with giving this album 10 out of 10, and this will take a lot to beat or even come close to. Mark Cognitum's new album is right up there. There are a lot of albums that are magnificent. The Experimentus album with the very long name is right up there, but no, this is 10 out of 10, and I think things will only be able to equal this album. Definitely not beat it. I'm pretty confident saying not beating it, but I'll be happy to be proven wrong later, but it's going to take something rather magnificent. Ghosts of the Past, big title track that starts the whole album out. Sorry, not the title track, the big starting track that starts everything out. Epic song. All the way through this album, it's got a really epic, grand about it. It really does feel like it's the entirety of space and the entirety of the universe and the galaxy that you're listening to. They've really brought that through. When the guitar solos are there, they're not particularly widdly diddly sort of solos. There is a little bit of that there, and they are intricate, but they're a bit more careful and planned, but they don't sound robotic or dry. They're still quite organic, and the solos are all about escapism. If you know, like giving you a sense of floating through space and all, and so that's breaking you up from the heaviness of the death metal and so forth. And even though this is death metal, it's certainly not, I would never put it in the realm of brutal death metal. The death metal is sort of like the latter albums of Death, you know, sort of human, symbolic sounds of perseverance, that sort of death metal sound. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, this album, you know, if Chuck was alive, I know he would have loved an album like this. He would have absolutely adored something like this, because it's got some of those things that he was leaning towards for sure. Cosmos Eater is catchy, is really catchy. Probably has the most sort of the meatiest death metal sort of crunch to it. Impermanence, that's the title track. I've made a mistake before. Impermanence, it's kind of how can you say, it's only got 2 lines in the whole song, and it's right in the middle. But the song is quite sort of meandering, and it's still heavy enough, but just a beautiful song. It's definitely death metal, but it's beautiful. It's weird calling a death metal song beautiful, but it is. And it only has 2 lines in it. And the section that comes after those 2 lyrical lines by Roman, just magnificent. One of the best parts on the whole album. Timeless Splendor is probably the most sort of straight up song on here. It's probably the most accessible, and that's not to say this album is challenging at all. Not at all. It's very enjoyable to listen to, but quite complex, quite involved, quite big. Timeless Splendor is probably a little bit more straight up. It borders on melodic death metal, if you know what I mean. It gets into that style. Multi-layered Chaos is so catchy. I don't know how they do it. They combine epicness and technical death metal and progressive death metal with ultra catchiness. So good. And then the song called Grand Nexion Abyss is a masterpiece. An absolute masterpiece of a song. Just so good. Let me show you the vinyl as well. There's the insert. Through there. Lyrics nice and easy to read, great to read, good background. Thank you very much for the bands that do things like that. Really good. And there we go. I mean, you know, as if the record wasn't good enough as it is, just with the audio content. Talk about a complete package. A fantastic custom label. Beautiful colours of the record that really sort of look so interesting as it's spinning around. And then, and as I show you again, that's the back cover. So you can see once again all the things to do with the cosmos and the galaxy. And that cover there. Flawless. Absolutely flawless. Magnificent album all the way. I love this band, and this album is really cementing them now and starting to make me really know that this band will start pressuring perhaps the top 10 of my favourite bands of all time, especially if they keep putting out albums like this. And the last one, I can't remember the name of the title straight up, Into the Timeless Void, I think it was, from memory, is outstanding as well. They just don't do anything wrong. Love it. Now, I want to point it out, the name of the artist on here is called Paolo Girardi, because I think that's one of the best album covers I've ever seen. Just nuts. So there we go. I know I've gone a little bit hyper on this, and this album really doesn't need a hype sticker at all. Well, I guess it does to let you know what's inside, but once you've listened to it and heard it, that's all the hype you need, because absolutely outstanding. I love this album to bits. As I say, this is my #1 front runner album of the year so far, and yeah. And also, I'll put a link to the albums I've loved this week in the description below, so you can check them out. Yeah, so thanks very much for watching. Check out this album and band if you like the sound of it. I can't rave about this enough. I'm going to be spinning this record a lot. So good. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll catch you all soon.